How do you start over now that you are awakened to narcissistic abuse? How do you move on and build a brand new life? How many of you are trying to build a brand new life, but you don't know how to put one foot in front of the other? Well, I can tell you this much. It's impossible to build a brand new anything without first learning how to let go. Without letting go, all you're doing is bringing the old into the new, which builds the same old thing. You don't want to build the same old thing. How many of you are tired of narcissistic abuse? How many of you are tired of staying in the cycles of endless trauma? How many of you really want to build a new life? Let's get into it. My name is Kevin. This is The Royal We. Before I continue, I want to let you know that I'm here for your support. Down in the description box, you will find access for one-on-one appointments with me. In addition to that, I encourage each and every one of you right now to get involved in my new life coaching program. Spend time with me for 1 month. Every day, Monday through Friday, for live teachings that you're not going to get here on YouTube. All it's going to cost is $49 for the month. I hope to see all of you in there. Check the links down below. Now we're talking about learning how to let go. The most important thing that you can do before learning how to build a new life is learning how to let go. I want to give you an ancient principle. This ancient principle says this: whoever tries to hang on to their life, to preserve their life, will lose it. And whosoever loses their life voluntarily will find it. And what does this mean? Obviously, in the context, it's not telling people to go and end their life. How many of you know there's a difference between losing one's life and ending one's life? Losing simply means that you can't find it, you can't see it. It's not identifiable anymore compared to what you once identified it with. Ending means ceasing to exist. There's a clear difference between the two. But what does this mean, being able to lose one's life, being able to lose your life? It means separating with everything that you identified with, that you called life. We live in a culture and a society where we don't even necessarily choose our life, it's chosen for us. We're taught what to think, what to believe. We're given certain clothing to wear. Cars are made for us, houses are made for us. Different things are made and built, and guess what happens? We gravitate towards these things and we call it our life. There's a lot of people out there that believe that their success and their homes and their houses, that's their life. And it's sad because these things are all temporary. They can go away just as quickly as they come into your life. And if you don't have this understanding of letting go, well, what happens when these physical things go crumbling? Well, a lot of people actually end up ending their life. You can find out about that in the news because they can't separate their real life from their identified life, the life that you need to learn to let go of. But it doesn't just stop with physical things such as cars and houses and clothing. How about relationships? Relationships. One of the things that we struggle to understand about relationships is that people don't belong to you. Your parents don't belong to you. Your children don't belong to you. Your friends don't belong to you. Listen, when you come into this world, you bring none of that with you. You don't bring relationships with you into the world. And guess what? When you leave this world, you're not going to take any relationships with you there either. Just the same as the house and the car and the money. None of it's going with you because it doesn't belong to you. All the things that we collect in this life that we call life is temporary. And it can go just as quickly as it can come. You're all right. So this is an important concept for us to understand, being able to let go. Now there's two options when it comes to learning how to let things go. I'm going to share with you another principle. This principle is given to us by sailors. Sailors out in the ships in the ocean. They understand that there's two possible ways of letting things go in this life. The first one is what they call jetsam or jettison. What is that? Everybody say it with me. Jetsam, jettison, jettison. Okay? What this is the voluntary, deliberate throwing of things overboard in case the ship is being threatened to sink. So if the ship is stuck or something's threatening, a storm is threatening to sink the ship, they will voluntarily throw whatever they can overboard. They'll throw overboard their treasure. They'll throw overboard their clothing. They'll throw overboard their livelihood, if you will. They'll get rid of all of it in order to really preserve themselves in a way that they can find and build something new. They have that understanding that nothing's worth sinking our soul into the abyss. I can start over. So that's one way of letting go. It's voluntary. And this is where you and I are at right now. We need to make that choice to voluntarily throw things out of our life, to jettison relationships, jettison items, jettison maybe your house, jettison your car, get rid of, throw overboard the things that threaten you, that threaten to sink you in the storm that you're in. The other word that sailors use is kind of the same, but as opposed to being a deliberate throwing things overboard, a voluntary throwing of things overboard, it's the result of being sucked down into the abyss and it's being imploded or exploded and debris scattering everywhere. And that word is called, what is that word called? Jetsam and blah, 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 blah. I can't think right now. Somebody help me out. Write it down in the YouTube comments, quick. Look it up on YouTube, there's a word for it. What's it called when a ship sinks and the debris scatters everywhere? Flotsam or something like that? Flotsam. Flotsam. Jetsam and flotsam. Right? It's the two eels from the Little Mermaid movie. Flotsam, jetsam. Now I got her, boys. The boss is on a roll for this poor, unfortunate soul. I should not be singing Disney movie songs, but how many of you remember that one, right? Flotsam is when a ship is actually sunken because of the storm. It gets dragged down into the abyss and the water and the force rips it apart and everything is lost. That's the other way of letting go, by force. What's the point here? The point here is this, that in order to start over in anything, either one of two things is going to happen. You're going to let go either way. You're either going to voluntarily start throwing things overboard so you can preserve some dignity, so you can preserve some sanity. You're going to let things go, or you're going to get sucked down into the abyss and the waves will crash down in on you and tear you apart. And you have no choice. I say choose to throw things overboard, right? Risk that. This is important to understand because narcissistic abuse is that storm that comes into your life and it threatens to sink you down into the abyss, into the depths. Now it has not yet fully engulfed you. It has not ripped apart your life. Maybe some of you feel like it has, but it hasn't. It's the storm that just threatens your life, and you're in the process right now of throwing things overboard so that you can start to build brand new. And that's where you're at. So I would encourage you to voluntarily jettison things from your life. Relationships, items, houses, clothing, cars, all the things that you call your life, because it's not your life. Your life is your life, and for many of you, you have not even yet identified your life, who you are, what you're really called to do. You have no idea, because you've been living the life that's been given to you instead. So I encourage you to voluntarily cough up, throw overboard, purge a lot of these things, even if it means you're left with nothing, because that's where you can start over. That is when and where you start over. You're not ready to start over until you first let go. I'm going to say this again. You are not ready to start over until you first let go. What is it that you are having a hard time letting go of right now? What relationship? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it your brother? Is it your sister? Is it the idea of what family is that you can't let go of? Is it the lifestyle? Is it the money? Is it the house? What is it that's holding you down? What is it that's threatening to pull you down in the abyss and rip you apart? It's not worth it. I promise you that. It's much easier. It's much better to throw those things overboard. This is how you're going to build a new life away from narcissistic abuse. You're going to decide and realize you don't need those things, that a lot of those things are what tie you to emotional trauma. And a lot of those things are what tie you to narcissistic abuse. A lot of the ideas even. A lot of your ideas need to be thrown overboard. A lot of your principles need to be thrown overboard. A lot of your understanding of the way the world works, how relationships operate, a lot of that stuff needs to be jettisoned, thrown overboard, so you can start from scratch.